And I'm off to a good start. Looks like I'm right at the back of the pack where I belong. Hey everyone, welcome to Hardcore Enduro, where it's all about getting out and riding the hard stuff. I'm George, the guy behind the bars and the voice behind the mic. We're racing today in Virginia City for the 52nd annual run of the Virginia City Grand Prix. It's a fun race. It is a very grueling race, though. I mean, I love the setup. It's one of the coolest starts of any race I've been to. You're downtown, everyone's revving their bikes up. It's like roaring there. They got music going, the crowd's there. They said they had like 10,000 people in this tiny little ghost town. And you know, so it's cool. You got all these people downtown watching you start, and that first drop off, a lot of people gun it. It was dry today, but a couple years past, it's wet. And there's just a lot of crashes there, so everyone's there waiting for the big crashes. Luckily, I saved mine for after that, where I got in the dirt. It came in a little hot, and went to tap the rear brake. I'm still filling out my new boots that I got. I adjusted my rear brake, and I've ridden it just around the house here, not anything really testing it like a race does. So I just locked up that rear brake, and it slid out on me in the beginning there. Anyways, so we're getting into the main body of the course now. Now we're out of the city, drops down here, and there's a big climb coming up. And 2 years ago, there wasn't an easy way and a hard way. Now they have it split, and they have an easy way and a hard way. Watch this guy on my left. He's gonna kind of wash out right there. bunch of that going on. So anyways, they have the split here that people are going the easy way. I'm like, nah, I'm not having any of that. I want the hard way, so I'm gonna go up the hard way. And I was expecting maybe a bottleneck. 2 years ago, there was a big bottleneck right here, but there was no one. So I had to really make quick work of this. Got up here, no problem. Now it's not the steepest hill, but because of how chewed up it gets in the rocks, it's really easy. If you lose your momentum, it's hard to get started again because the rocks just keep rolling under your tires. Or if you get kicked out, the front end gets hit by a tire. They're all softball, baseball-sized rocks, and they're rolling on you. And that's pretty much the gist of this whole race. So there's the second time through. Here as I go through some of these hard sections, I'm going to show you my lap 1, lap 2, maybe lap 3 or 4, however that looked. So the same hill. This is my second time through. Once again, no one's on here, so it just made it pretty easy. I'm like, why is everyone taking the easy route? This is not hard. Now this is my third lap, and on the lap 3, I'm fatigued now. I'm starting to hit the wall, and I'm starting to make bad choices, letting the bike go where it wants to go instead of me controlling it. And I get to left here, and I'm going to get kicked out by this root. So right there, that root just catches my back tire and sends it sideways. Which, now when you're fatigued, making mistakes, and falling a little bit more. I did fall in loop 1, so we're back to loop 1 racing here. But as you get fatigued, the more times you fall, it starts compounding, and you just get more exhausted, more exhausted. So we're back to loop 1, and there's a lot of whoops here. The whoops here aren't like the desert whoops that I do out in District 37, where they're kind of long. They're massive, but they have this kind of a longer lead into them, so you can really be sailing across them. Where here they're really short and kind of choppy, real steep, and for me they were real deep, just real steep. The pros, they were sailing over the top, but it was just a different style of whoop than I've seen out in the desert. The course is very dusty. They did have some sections where there was creeks, and you'll see that coming up, some mud puddles and some mud pits that developed really bad. But the dust was an issue, and it just makes you nervous because the rocks are there. They're there the entire course. There's hardly a section where you can just relax, not worry about getting kicked out by a rock. As you see, that the rocks are just everywhere, and they're creating havoc for everyone because you're getting kicked out left to right, your back end, your front end, and you're gonna see some pretty good crashes coming up here. Trying to stay in control. This is my lap 1. So lap 1, my goal was to hold back, just like I do in my Hare and Hounds, just to hold back, reserve some energy. I know it's a 4-hour race, and I know I haven't been putting a lot of hours on the bikes. I just don't have the conditioning, the stamina to ride hard for 4 hours like the experts and the pros do. So I just staying in control, reserving some energy. Here's a downhill section. You're gonna see a guy come flying in from the left here, and he's gonna get kicked out. Watch him. Woo! Oh. He gets up right away, so he's all right. And then I'm looking at him, and then I get kicked out. Luckily, I saved it, didn't go down there. So yeah, that's how this course is run. The rocks will get you. And the dust. So that there's 500 riders basically on this, all on the same course, 21 miles. It does thin out in spots, but you're riding in the dust a lot. Just there's so many riders on the course at the same time. You know, the Hare and Hounds that we do, there's 200, 250 is a lot of riders. So almost 500. That's a lot. And you're only on 21 miles, where Hare and Hounds, you're doing 80 miles. And you're not repeating the same loop. You're not repeating the track. So it's just a lot of riders. Everyone, you got pros, experts, and amateurs here. And just because you're a certain level, skill level, doesn't mean you're that level at stamina and conditioning. So, whereas my loop 2, I go pretty quick, but my stamina is just not there. If I could hold up my stamina, I would do pretty well, actually. My goal today was to hit the top 100, and I would have been very close, but lap 3, like I said, I just hit the wall, and then lap 4 was just like survival mode, just finishing the race. So to finish the race, you have to keep going to that 4-hour mark. And if you stop before the 4 hours, you don't get a finisher pin. So if you're one of the unfortunate guys, there's another guy down that comes in at like 3 hours and like 56 minutes. They'll tell you, well, you got to keep going. So you have to decide, is it worth another hour out there? I'm so exhausted at this point to keep going. So the trail starts coming down into this little creek down here, and there's water in the creek. There wasn't water 2 years ago, but there is now. And the tire setup that I have, I wasn't expecting water. I ran harder tires this time because I knew the rocks. I ran gummies last time, and the gummies got chewed up, and I didn't have any mooses on there, which is, I'm used to trail riding a slow pace. As you race, it's much faster pace, and there's so many rocks here, they just chew up your tire that if you're gonna run a gummy, you gotta have a moose, or you're gonna be having a flat tire all day. So I ran my M5B, which is used, but it's a very hard carcass. It's good for hill climbs. I knew the hills are going to be chewed up, so anytime there's any kind of climb section, the M5B does really well. I got a new front on there. My old Golden Tire Fatty was worn out, and now I'm trying a Shinko 546. So another hard tire, which the front did fine, but the air pressures are up because I go tubeless. And I'm running, I think 15 in the front and 13 in the rear, which isn't the best for this rock creek section here, where you got slick rocks, hard rocks and water. Hard tires and hard rocks just don't mix well. So if I do this again, if I'm not running a moose, I would have this set up, I think, because I did not get a flat. I didn't want to get a flat. I had a spare tire in the pits, but I didn't want to have to use my energy and effort because I was my only pit crew today. And I said, all right, I don't want to have to do anything in the pits because I'm going to be exhausted changing out a tire, and it's going to take me forever to get back on the course. So I didn't want a flat, so I'm glad I did choose the setup that I had to work with here. But if you had a bib, you can run a softer tire here and get away with it, I think. And it would, for the creek sections especially, it would have helped out. Now, they weren't a long creek section, so it's not like you gain so much ground if you were to go fast in here. It was hard to pass people. As you see, it's narrow, but just had to be a little bit more careful. And each time through, luckily there was no mud pit developing in this creek, and the other creeks throughout the course there was some mud pits that just grew and got really big and nasty. But this one stayed about the same, and it was actually went by pretty quick, not too big of a deal. I did all right. Wasn't the could go a little faster if I did different tire setup. Could have went a little faster through there, but did all right for what I was running with. I did okay. You see, there's still a lot of people here in Loop 1 and Loop 2. It starts to thin out, and then people start to drop off. The guys that don't finish the race, that pull out of the race, starts to drop off, so the race course starts thinning out. So you got this big hill climb here, another kind of chunky climb here that starts taking people out left and right. And whenever you lose your momentum, it's hard to get started in these rocks again. So you just got to keep your momentum up, keep on the pegs, let that bike kind of bounce around under you. Making good line choices here. Now I'm going to get up here. I go for a pass, and there's a little berm that builds up to the right, and the guy starts cutting over, and you get up to this berm, throws my balance right there. It just throws my balance off. And I should have went straight, but I was like, I need to get back on the course. I don't know. I could totally just go straight. And I watched some of the other guys. The pro guys, you know, if they could skip that, they'll just make a new line, and we do that in Hare and Hounds all the time. I don't know why I didn't think about that right there. So I'm like, yeah, I don't need to get back on there. You can see everyone's struggling. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna go straight up right here, which I could have done that. As soon as I got kicked off, I could have just went straight up right here, and I wouldn't have fell. But in the moment, you don't think about it. It's hard to think that fast. It's got to become like instinct where I don't think about it, I just do it. So get my momentum back. Like I said, the tire didn't have, I could keep going. The M5B is a hill climbing tire. The rocks, of course, don't help, but it's able to get up here. So up here, we got one more little rock section coming up, and I get behind this guy in the dust, and it gets really hard to see the rocks, and I'm gonna get kicked out. My front end's gonna hit a rock here, and I'm gonna lose it. Yeah, right there. A rough start. Probably dumped the bike twice now, or 3 times because you got to start. So you can just see how chunky it is. Real loose, like I said. We came, so you start in the rear of the pack. Front guys didn't have as bad, but you got several laps to do, so there's no excuses. You're gonna get this chunky rock throughout the second loop, and third loop, and fourth loop. The top guys did 6 loops. All right, this is the same climb we just did, but this is lap 2 this time. So let's see how I do. Guy ahead of me, he's going pretty good. On lap 3, I got passed here by one of the pro guys. I'm telling you, those guys are flying. You know, at your own speed, you think you're going fast, and then it's nothing compared to what the pros are. There he goes, so fast, it's unbelievable. I wanted to catch this guy ahead of me. I like catching people on hill climbs. I think that I'm good at them, but I like to charge. You got to charge hills, you know. But he was doing good, and I couldn't catch him. Here's where I tipped over lap 1. Come on, downshift. Keep those RPMs up. You don't want to be revving out. I don't think revving out is where I think a lot of guys do a lot of wheel spin and they lose control of the bike. I like to stay the revs a little low, and you're just getting a better traction. you're not spinning as many rocks on your tire. All right, so now we're back to loop 1. So we crossed over there. Now it has this real long downhill, real rocky. You can see you got like the good line, and you got the passing zone, which is the hard line to the left there. So if you're patient, you stay on the good line, not too big a deal. If you get behind, you go to make a pass, then you're in the risk, the danger zone. Which, you know, it's a risk you take. A lot of people pass on the the rock area, the danger zone, and you run the risk of getting kicked out. Now, a lap 3 or 4, I had someone behind me. You're going downhill, so everyone's engine, you're not revving out, it's real low. And 2-strokes especially are really hard to hear. And when you're going downhill, no one's revving out their engine. It's hard to hear the guy behind you. You know, you got to do a rev or something. And even that, you're concentrating a lot, dodging the rocks. So, you know, hearing people coming up behind you is kind of hard on the downhills. So I apologize if anyone was behind me and I didn't get out in time, or they ate it. I tried my best most of the time to get out of people's way, but it didn't happen every single time. You know, it's part of the racing, it's part of the gamble. You go to make a pass. I'm very conservative. I want to wait for the proper time to pass. I'm not a pro, so I have to wait. Here's a guy blocking the same little hill climb. This is lap 3 there. That was lap 3 coming up. Guy in the middle. Now watch this guy coming up to the left here. He's going to pass me, fly by on the left. So I'm trying to get out of his way, and he just flies by. There's some really fast people out there. Like my lap 1 time was, I think, came in an hour 8 minutes, which was not bad. My second lap came in just over an hour, but the leader was like 38 minutes, and he was repeating like 30. We did 38 and then like 43 minute, 43 minute, 43. He was just flying.
Warming up, so I'm not pressing anything right now. Had a couple slides out. Really, yeah, these rocks are just very rolly.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I'm still lap 1 here. I'm just conserving myself as much as I can. I have arm pump, like I know I'm gonna have it, lactic acid building up, so I'm just taking it easy. I don't want to have any big crashes that takes me out of the race early, and or just causes me to fatigue myself before I know I'm gonna get fatigued. Which is gonna happen. Now right here, they had to see the left. There's a climb there. That climb, they had that taped off. In years past, they allowed the hard way there. You could go left there, or you could come around the bend here and go around. And I was really looking forward to hitting that big hill, but they had it taped off. Didn't get to do it. For me, yeah, it's a hard way. It's a shortcut way, but I like it just because it's the hard way, and I want the hardest. If there's the hardest way to do something, I want to do it. So that's why I want to do it. Not because it's shorter. I want to do it because it's harder. If they had a sign that said this is the hard way plus it's longer, I'd be like, I'm probably gonna do that one too. It's harder and longer. I'm gonna do it. There's a lot of sections here that I cut out that were just kind of flat, whoopy, and once you've seen one whoop, you've seen them all. Here we're going downhill, another rocky section. They had a lot of this really bumpy, rocky downhills where just my forearms and my triceps are just burning. Now, my suspension wasn't set up the best for this style of race, and I'm gonna finally I've caved, and I'm gonna take my bike in and have it gone through by a professional who knows what they're doing with suspension. So I'm excited to get that done. And as an amateur guy, I'm sure a lot of you guys have been hearing about it, other people doing it, and I'm finally pulling the trigger. Going to take my bike in and have it gone through to get it set up for me and the style of riding that I like. So I'm excited to get that done. and I'll make a video on that too, just you can see the experience that I went through. Here's a little hill that was causing a lot of people problems. Like another not steep one. Now it's really hard packed. No rocks here, but it's hard packed with this little thin film of loose gravel on top. And if you lost your momentum, same thing. You just start spinning out. And maybe you need some clutch control to keep your tire from spinning out. More rocks, keep kicking people out. You know, dodging traffic is part of the race. And you got to choose wisely the line you take to get around people, because you can take the hard line and get kicked out real easy. At the top of this climb, there's a couple of roots that go across. And the secret of roots, I know I didn't do it in the lap 3 of the other hill climb, but the secret of roots is to be off the gas as you go over them. Because if you're on the gas, spinning the tire, when you go over a root, it slides. But if you're off the gas, that tire will just roll over the root. And that's where I made the mistake on lap 3 of climbing up that first big hill climb in the beginning that I got spun out on. I was on the gas. Mile 6. First laps, you know, I'm not tired yet. I was having arm pump, but I'm not like tired, exhausted tired. And it was till lap 3. Lap 3 is where I got exhausted tired, like my legs were shot. And lap 4, it's like it was hard to stand. I was either sitting until if a bump threw me in the air where I could stand, then I would stand. And then if a bump took me out, I was sitting. So there's a sweeper, getting passed by the sweeper there, and he's just jeans and a t-shirt. They had some really good sweeper riders today. You'll see some later. But he's going up there. There's a crash up ahead. He'll pull off and help them out. Right here, just a little water on the trail, just make it a little bit slick. And I was just being a little extra cautious going through this area. I didn't want to slide out here. So here's that. The crash is coming up. Right over here. A little bad, you know. You'll hear me throughout the whole day. There, that guy's down. He's getting up though. He's moving. You see someone getting up and moving, that's usually a good sign. There's a couple other riders there, and a couple other people that when I see them solo, are you okay? As you're going by, are you okay? Everyone's yeah, or they give you a little thumbs up. So there's that same. This is lap 2 now. I make this pass on this guy. And I catch a rock right there. I almost went down pretty hard. I was going fast. That was a close one. So now we're back to lap 1. Sorry guys, I'm making one race, but I'll be jumping through loop 1, loop 2, loop 3, just to show the difference. I hope that's not confusing y'all. No, it's not anything hard, but it's just the rocks. You had to stay on the line. You get off onto the left or the right there, and those rocks are just really rolling on you and gonna be kicking your tires out. Alright, we got some mood. There's gonna be some more of that later. There was one spot where it just gets so muddy that people are getting stuck in it, and they finally had to close that section off. And then they rerouted, lost one turn. Also, there was another creek crossing that, man, people were having a difficult time going up this creek crossing. And I feel like as the day went on, the race went on, the creeks got a little bit more water in them. Maybe there's just more snow melt coming down because it's getting hotter. But the creek crossing got real bad too, and the lap 4 they just totally rerouted us, and which it was actually the part they rerouted us to, that was not any better. It was almost the same. This whole race course, they have just a small amount of single track. I think they have a little bit too much of this service road area. I know they have a lot of riders to get through, and it'd be really tough to get, you know, a lot of riders to prevent bottlenecks with almost 500 riders going on. But they had a little bit too much service road. I don't know if they have some environmental reason they can't do that. I mean, this is Nevada. They have trails all over the place. But you think just cut out a little bit of the service road. Put a little bit more single track in it for me. That would be awesome. Ah, nice little sneaky bypass line right there. There's a couple of them that they had just a little bit shaving off, you know, half a second right there. Coming into the whoops. Got to get your whoops in there. It's not a real race unless you got whoops in it. That's what I say. All right, we got one hill climb coming up. It's got this little rocky little creek area you got to get through. And I chose a different line every time I did this. So I went high here, I went low, I went in the middle. And it wasn't bad. It's just you had to be a little choosy. Dodge the big rocks. And then we go, there's a hill climb here. This hill climb is a hill climb, but it had a lot of whoops in it. I'm getting passed there by Luke. Now Luke and I battled the whole race, and he would pass me, I'd pass him, he'd pass me, I'd pass him, he'd pass me. And they ended up beating him. He finished right behind me, so I was 166, and then he finished 167. So it's just, that was my battle with that guy right there. And he's running a 250, and then of course I got my 450. You'll see him, keep your eye out on him. He's got that teal blue top there with the little orange bag on the back, and that's Luke. There's a couple other riders that I saw frequently throughout the race. Hope we all had a good time passing each other and didn't piss each other off too much. It's fun when you see the people you're battling, you're racing against. I like it. There goes the sweeper. I'm telling you, that sweeper guy, he was good. I was later on in the race. There's a sweeper riding with. They're doubled up. He's got a rider in the back. He's taking him back, and I'm telling you, for riding doubled up, he was going pretty quick. I was impressed. These little rocky sections just beat you up. You need to have maybe the softer tire would have helped out a lot. If you had a bib, you can run soft and not worry about pinch flats, and that would take a lot of the jolting of through the handlebars. I know you can get some more flex in the handlebars, so that's another option I can think about. Changing up the handlebars just allows some of that jolt you feel from the little bumpy rocks. It'd take a lot of that out, I think.
Oh, these rocks are scary as hell.
Hell yeah, they are. They're so unpredictable. That's what makes them scary. At any moment, you can be kicked out and flung across the trail. But give me an obstacle. Give me a log. Give me a rock or something I gotta cross. These little boulders are scaring the hell out of me. Get behind this guy. See, I'm real choosy when I pass. I don't just fly by people. I know as many times I'm like, give it the gas. I'm watching the video. I'm like, come on, pass this guy. What are you doing? But I'm cautious. I don't want to pass in a hard situation if I don't have to. And the guy out there, just the whole day, there's bikes, riders just everywhere. Some people are taking breaks. Some people are kicked out, and then they're taking a break after they crashed. That was a steep drop. That little drop off back there, I know the GoPro just fly by. That was really steep. It got steeper throughout the day. Got this little train of riders ahead of me on this downhill. By lap 3 of these downhills, my triceps were just burning. So I was I'd sit and I'd really pinch the bike hard with my knees and my legs to ease off the pressure of my arms. Because you really got to go faster. I was going too slow. The slower you go, you're putting a lot more pressure on your arms. And if I was able to just roll a little faster, get through it, you're not spending as much time, you know, stressing out your arms, working your arms. Back in a little creek here. This creek had, like I said, I don't have the right tire set up, so I'm just being cautious. All my creek crossings, I was a little extra cautious, making sure I was keeping my balance, making sure I was picking a good line to get through. I didn't want to slip out in any rock going across the water there, you know, from the mud and not being able to see. It was right before the road. We'll come up. There's a road that it's kind of like a halfway point, and there's a little bit deeper crossing there, but never had an issue there. You couldn't see through the water. This section here on lap 2, I was starting to get passed by some of the pros, and you'd see one guy pull over to let a pro by. And lap 2 is my fastest lap, so I was going pretty fast lap 2, and I'd kind of piggyback on him a little bit because everyone would be pulling off for the pro guy, and then I was able to then make several passes. Is they think, oh, this must be another pro guy coming through. They know it's just little amateur hardcore Enduro George. But kind of lucked out on lap 2, making some easy passes. Alright, when I got to this little sandy downhill spot, I know the road's real close, so I was really anxious to get to that road, especially lap 3, lap 4. Oh, you couldn't wait to get on that road and take a little breather, drink some water. You had the one little creek to cross here, so you got this little zig and zag right here, get across. And it was, I mean, it's deep, but it wasn't that deep. It went up to about half the tire right there. So there's the road, and now you finally get your break. So now you bust out your drinking tube and start sucking down some water. That road, that stretch went about for a half a mile there, and really didn't pass anyone. Everyone's just taking the breather, drinking water, stretching out their arms, wiggling their feet, you know, just trying to get them loosened up. That little creek crossing got worse and worse every time too. Here's the here's the lap 3. This is lap 3 coming through. You can just see how much more it's chewed out here. So, and then lap 4 is a little worse, but you get the idea. We're back on loop 1 here. So if you guys just remind, I'm going through some of the hard sections. I'll show you how lap 1, lap 2, lap 3 went, and then I go back to lap 1. Had a little bypass there to the left. Just shaved off a little bit of time. I hit that on the rest of the loops after I saw it on this first lap. So we're coming up to this really long, rocky climb part of the race here, and this is where the semi-bottleneck was. A lot of racers were stuck on this hill climb, and I'm gonna make some ground. I love hill climbs. I love the gnarlier it gets. I'm not saying I'm good at it. I like them, so it doesn't scare me. I want to hit a gnarly hill climb with rocks and obstacles. That's what I like. Not the best at it, but I like to attack it. So it's going to split, and I see everyone going right, so I go right here. You know, and this little turn was taking people out, left and right. Now, see that guy went around the left side there? I think that was the faster line. I took this little like cutoff line every time, but after I'm watching the video, like here's the second time through, and watching the video, I should have left that guy just like, ew.
You alright? You okay?
Hey, thumbs up. Solid thumbs up. It's good. But I think that the wide line would have been the better route there. 'Cause that guy was carrying a lot of speed.
Not bad, not bad.
Alright, here's the part where it gets really rocky and it just starts taking people out left and right. And then you start passing people, dodging traffic. And you're still getting bounced all over the place, but this was fun. I like this section coming up here. Gotta have clutch control here. If you don't have clutch control, this is where people are spinning out, tipping and falling over. So I'm riding with the clutch on almost this whole climb right here. Alright, so let's see how hardcore enduro does this. Alright, so people are stopped in your way. You're having to kind of crisscross through this rock section here. Still getting bounced around. Gotta keep your balance though. You can't, and keep the clutch covered. Clutch control is so important in these rocky areas, preventing your back tire from spinning out on you. You see that guy ahead of me, he's spinning out. He's gonna have a little bit better clutch control. Going through the middle, make the pass. See that guy pushing? You don't want to be that guy pushing, just using all his energy. You want the bike to be doing the work for you. And my rear end, the back tire is not spinning too fast. I'm just kind of tractoring it along, keeping that tire rolling, keeping my momentum going. At least that's my strategy. When you don't have speed, if you're carrying a lot of speed, the pros, you'll see them, they're carrying a lot more speed, and when you got that kind of momentum, you're just worrying about your balance really. But when you get slow, you lose your momentum. You gotta be able to control that spin of that back tire. Otherwise, it'll be kicked out, spin left to right. You're never gonna get your balance, and it's really hard to start your momentum going forward. But it was a real chunky section. This hill climb, I wish, I mean, it would be taking a lot of people out. If they had more climbs like this, you know, they had 200 DNFs, it would maybe have 300 DNFs, it would just be working people over. You hear how low my RPMs are, just kind of putting along, not trying to keep out any wheel spin. And if I ever do get kicked, I feel the bike get kicked out, I'll pull on the clutch a little bit, just keep that tire spinning slow. Alright, here's the second time through. This is lap 2. The same climb I just did. This is lap 2 now. Even lap 2 is still taking people out. Oh, a little clutch fatigue right there. Come on, start, Trixie. What are you doing? Taking forever to start. Alright, back at it. See, I feathered that clutch, tractored up, got the momentum. Once the momentum's going, you're working on your balancing, standing up. The bike is doing a lot of bouncing left to right. You can see the guy ahead of me, how he's getting kicked around.
Oh shit.
Ooh, saved it. Good save, Georgie. This is where, if I had a little bit more flexible handlebars, it's running a bib with some softer tires, just to absorb a lot of that chatter, a lot of that feedback. That would really help out in that rocky section. Yeah, it was nice, let me pass. But I still liked it. I mean, to me, this is normal riding for me. I mean, I like this. Of course, I was passing people. It feels good when you pass people. Feels like you're doing something right when you start passing people. And when people start passing you, you feel like you're doing something wrong. So after that big rocky climb, now it's the downhill, and I'm just kind of resting. You know, I'm like, all right, just recover, because I kind of went hard. I didn't want to be stuck in that bottleneck area of the rock climb, so I'm just rested. One more little climb here, that not nearly as bad as the previous rocky climb that I went through. And then you got this little flat section here. Is nice. You can catch your breath right here. Get out the drinking tube, you know, suck down some water. I like to do a little half mix of water and Gatorade in my pack, so I actually did pretty good at staying hydrated. You know, hydration's key. Not cramping and fatigue. Now I did hit the wall, but I didn't have any cramps, which I've had in previous races where they really, you know, you start worrying like, oh man, maybe I should pull out of the race. I can't even open my hands or, you know, standing up. I did a lot of seat riding here. This race doesn't have as the amount of whoops that a hare and hound does. And of course, the hare and hounds, you got less pit stops. I had every pit stop, or every time I came through that I went to the pits. Got gas, got water, got a snack, a goo pack. You know, wipe my face down. Try to have a fresh start every time. You know, check the tires. So I wasn't blazing through the pits. Of course, I didn't have a pit crew either, so I was the pit crew. My wife has my son, and they wouldn't let her into the pits, and she was kind of angry about that. And I guess they have some rule, no little kids in the pits, and I can understand little kids running around, but my son's only 1. But whatever, it was fine. I mean, I've raced several times, and I am my only pit crew. So I told my wife, I can do that. I can do the pits myself. If I got to change a tire, whatever needs to happen, I can do that on my own. Right here, this little hill climb. This is loop 1 here, and I come in. I think I'm loop 3. Right here. Here's a sweeper carrying that guy in the back. So they're doubled up here, and he's going pretty quick. For carrying someone on the back, I was like, man, he's actually going pretty fast. I know if I carry someone on the back, I'm like really cautious, going super slow. We got some ruts coming up here. These ruts got really deep on lap 2, lap 3, and then lap 4. By the end of the race, they were really deep, causing you to slow down quite a bit. So there's the first set. And I slowed down quite a bit to get through this. And you can see there's still mud in the rut in the left side. So here's lap 3, maybe 2. It's lap 2. I stalled it out. It's pulling that clutch. Don't stall out your bike. You can just see how deep those ruts are. It went all the way up to the axle on your tire. Watch this guy ahead of me. He's gonna eat it here. There's a downhill here. He eats it right there. Right to the rut. There's like a little rut, and he runs right into that, loses his balance. And then the guy ahead of me there is another rut. So the road kind of splits, the water washes out. And he's wet in the middle of that. Look nasty. Didn't want to get, those ruts are deep. It'll suck you up. The dirt's just really hard packed, and you got this really light film of gravel and sand on top, so when you're coming in hot, it's easy to slide out. And right there, lap 3, some guy passed me so fast right there, and some of these fast guys, I mean, they are just sliding into these turns, riding on the seat. A lot of them are sitting down. They must have really good suspension, but just cracked me up. I saw him sliding into that creek. Bam, he hits it, gets a little squirrely, and he just still on the gas and just takes off. And then he's right up this path, you know. It was amazing to see the fast guys. And, you know, we think they're in control, but I imagine a lot of them are out of control too. And they're just on the gas, hoping, praying for the best. Got this little flat section here, which was nice because we're coming into a steep downhill and it's real rocky. So it's just catch your breath right here, and then we're gonna come into it. So it starts getting rocky, it starts going down this little creek section, and then it's got a pretty rocky, real steep section. It creates a little bit of a bottleneck. There'll be some riders piled up here. So I'm conserving my energy right here. I'm not rushing this downhill because I know it's going to get really gnarly up here. And that's where I'm going to need to be on my toes. Need to be on my A game through this gnarly section here. Don't want to make any mistakes. Really chunky right here, just really chunky rocky. The camera just kind of flies by it, but it is, that was sketchy right there. And then you're going to get through this little left turn here, and then it drops off, and you got a pretty narrow way to get down. It's really rutted out. It's got this little V'd out trail that you can either ride that down or you can pop up to the right and go down. And that's what first time through, I went down the rutted trail and I saw getting up to the right, I could go that way. So I did that the rest of the laps.
Whew.
You just gotta stay in control of the bike. I turn the bike off. I do a lot of downhills, real steep. I'll turn the bike off. That way the throttle can't get away from me, and I just concentrate using that clutch as a rear brake. So here's me coming again on the second lap. You can see how it's a little bit of a bottleneck here.
You okay?
Yeah, all right, yeah. So instead of going down in that rut, I'm gonna stay up high and get around these guys. Which this was the better route. So I did this the rest of the laps, staying up high right here to the right. Got off the line a little bit, but saved it. See, I had the engine off, and I'll be able to just control the bike a little bit more. It was pretty steep. The camera doesn't show. That was pretty steep. Laps 3 and 4, I was exhausted, but really didn't have a trouble getting down here. Ooh, nasty whoops through here. All right, here's coming up to the creek here that got just so it's muddy. Another little bit bottleneck, and you'll see how just nasty this creek was right here crossing. There's a guy stuck on the left. There's a guy stuck on the right. And you got a helper there. I don't know how these guys got so stuck, but you can just see the different lines people are taking. Probably was a bottleneck and people are going left and right in any way they can. But really, you just went straight, stayed on the gas, and you got through. It did get worse and worse, and by lap 3 or lap 4, they had totally closed this off and they had us go a whole different route. It was muddy and slick, but this is where that M5B has no problem. The M5B is a mud tire, mud and sand tire, so getting through that, it was not an issue for me. Coming up ahead, we're going to be crossing this creek, and it gets really muddy, and you'll see there's a couple turns in there that just got really rutted out, really deep mud. I mean, they're all the way up half your axle or higher than that, and people are getting stuck. By lap 3, people are cutting one of the corners, and lap 4 they just totally taped it off and didn't even have this really muddy section. I wish I'd keep it on a hard enduro. They'd keep it in there. Like the hard enduros are no mercy. Here they want to keep the flow going. Here's that first little mud pit right here. And this is lap 1, so there wasn't anyone stuck. By lap 2, there was a bunch of people stuck. The ruts was just getting really bad. And then right here was a really deep one. Now I got the M5B, so it does really good through the mud. It's a mud tire, and it gets through here no problem. So we're going. Now this is lap 2. You can see this mud pit's getting worse. People are just, you're getting if you're exhausted by now, the mud's just creating havoc for you. Now people are diverting already. That guy's stuck. Feel bad for that guy. And everyone's cutting the corner there, so I cut the corner. Here's lap 3. There's a guy behind me. I went a little high, and I was like, I'll just avoid the pit. Or no, I guess that's all right. I avoid the pit right there. That's something that the pros. I've watched Tristan Hart and Hard Enduros and some of the pro guys. They will avoid obstacles. If they can avoid an obstacle, they will. Like if it's legal, they get away with it. They try to pick the easiest path. They're not picking the hardest path. So that was this little mud pit here. It was a lot of fun. I love the diversity of it, other than just dry service roads. It's nice having some mud pits, just a little bit of change of pace, change of obstacles here. It's like a little mud pit obstacle. I like that the course had that. All right, here's some little single track through the trees here. I did like this as well. I wish they had a more single track like this in the race. I think they could easily fit some more of that in there. Yes, Grant, everyone hears you on the channel. My son, he's not talking yet, but he's getting very vocal. Yeah, there he is. All right, so I think that the designers could easily throw some more single track like this in there. And other than, I mean, they have so many miles of service road that a little bit more of this would be a lot of fun for the racers. You know, just that service road gets old after a while, and for us that do a lot of trail riding, weekend riding, you know, this makes it fun. Now we're getting close to the end of the race. We got a couple miles left, but you got this big downhill, and this is the biggest downhill of the race here. Here's a guy who's got his chain popped off. He's trying to put his chain back on the sprocket there. Said he's all right though. So you come up, it's really steep, and it's kind of a long downhill. It's got a really steep part up here, and the first 2 laps, no problem. By lap 3 and 4, my triceps are just burning, and I'm having to really squeeze with my legs real tight to come down. But it's real hard packs, and they have this little V'd out rut here, and you're just kind of skiing down, sliding down that part. Now this is lap 2, and I got a couple riders ahead of me going slow, and I try to get around this guy here, and I should have passed him a little sooner, but now I'm in this dust. And I'm bouncing, I can't quite see where the rut's going to stay in the middle of it. And I almost lose it there, but I saved it. So my strategy for downhills, really steep downhills, is to start slow, enter slow, stay in control of the bike as much as you can. And this is hard pack, so you got to treat a hard pack downhill differently than a loose soft downhill. Hard pack downhill, you got to keep that rear tire rolling. You can lock it up a little bit, but as soon as it locks up, it gets really squirrely. Maybe it tries to in swap on you, so you got to be pumping the clutch or feathering the rear brake, letting that rear tire keep rolling. It keeps your balance. If you're in really soft or sandy descents, you can lock up that back, because then it digs down in and it acts like you're dragging an anchor. But on this really, where you got rocks, really hard packed, if you lock up that rear, you lose control of the bike, and you'll probably dump it. That's right. If you notice him, he was letting his back tire, he'd lock a little bit, but it'd roll, and then it'd lock, and then roll and roll. And every time it rolls, it rights itself. You keep your balance. So that's what I was doing, and he was doing it too. So right here, I had a flat tire to pull off 2 years ago. I had no flats this year, which was awesome. 2 years ago, I had a flat tire every lap. I ran with the wrong tire air pressure, and the wrong tire is really for the air pressure I was running. For like I said, tubeless or tube tire, I'd run harder carcass tire with a little bit higher pressure to prevent flats. If you got mooses, you can run a little softer. Right here is so rolly. These rocks really, like that wasn't a hard. Yeah, that was loose rocks. That was actually a harder obstacle than it looked like. Because the rocks were just really squishy, really rolling on you. Back for that downhill, I'd like to hear other people's strategy. I have my strategy. I mean, I watch training videos like you guys do, and what do you guys do? If you guys have a different strategy for downhills or even uphills, throw a comment out there, because I'd like to learn too. I'm always trying to learn, become a better rider, and I'm sure everyone else that's becoming a better rider, upping your skill, just helps your ride. Makes your rides funner, and you work less. It's just more enjoyable. Now here's a climb right here that got me on lap 3. I was lap 1 or 2, getting up was no problem. It was a little squirrely. I was catching this guy, and then I get right here, and then he just guns it. See, he's popping wheelies. And he just takes off. And he needed a little motivation. So there's lap 3. I'm coming up the same hill climb, and I'm tired. I'm not up on the pegs the way I should be. I'm not balancing right. I'm gonna loop it out right here. Get a face full of dirt. God, I didn't want to crash there, but made me laugh. It's just dumb mistakes. It's not the hardest climb. It's really chewed up though. You can see how just soft and powdery this climb is. But it wasn't a hard climb, just a dumb mistake. But I gotta pay the price now. I gotta deadlift the bike up. Let's go. 3 laps in. Pick it up, Georgie. Now I wear a deadlift belt as I ride, and just for this reason. It's a 450, and the WR is even heavier than most 450s, so it adds that little bit of extra support for all the deadlifting I gotta do. It's just, if I didn't deadlift so much, I wouldn't need it, but dang it, got passed. Hate getting passed on the hill climbs. I want to be like on the hill climb. That's where I don't want to get passed, because I want to charge it, but oh well. Alright, so we're back on loop 1 here, and we're getting towards the end of the race, which is, it felt short. Lap 1, lap 2, the race actually felt short. Like I said, this one was 21 miles 2 years ago. I think it was 24 miles. So it a little bit shorter than 2 years ago. And I was rested. The first 2 laps just flew by. Lap 3 and 4, especially lap 4, was like torture. Alright folks, we're going to bring this one to a close. Hope you enjoyed the Virginia City Grand Prix. If you guys have raced it, throw down some comments and then let everyone know your experience, or if you guys are looking into doing this one next year. I hope this helps you decide. It's not so much a skills-based race as it is more of a conditioning-based race, because it's such a long race. 4 hours, as many loops as you can go, and the rocks just beat you up. The stress of worrying about getting kicked out by rocks is throughout the entire course here. The next big race for me is Silver King's Hard Enduro. I'm really excited about that. I like the Hard Enduro races the best. They are maximum effort of everything. I mean, your skill level has to be to the max. Your conditioning has to be to the max. It is just all out dirt bike, to me, dirt bike riding. So I got my work cut out for me to get my skill level and my conditioning up, because they are down right now. The conditioning is down right now. So until the next video, get out and ride and get some. Ew!